So welcome back to our second lesson, and with this, yes, yesterday I said, or as the previous lesson, I said that we are going to look at the tools, right? So let's go straight to it. I'll go in here, create a menu document. Right, so I click on that, and then I'm going with my custom shapes or the saved, which I did for the previous lesson. So I have this one. I can double click on it, then have it opened in here, right? So having this here, okay. So with this, these are our tools, as our tools box or our tools panel on the left hand side in here, right? So starting with it, yes, we are going to start from the very top in here. So with this one here, we call that the move tool, right? The move tool. So the move tool, as the name goes, it's for movement and then for rotation and for scaling as well. So with this move tool, let me try and then bring in something that's an image. Okay. So I drop this here, right? So right, I have this in here. And then anytime you bring in an image, also you bring in something, right? You see this bounding box or this cross over here, or the minus over the times over here. So what this means is you have to commit it, and then committing it, you can see there's a check mark here on our options bar. So this one here, you click on it, or you can hit enter, or you can double click, and then you have it. So once I have this, with the move tool here, I can move this like anywhere that I want. I can move it to anywhere that I want. And then with that same move tool, that's this tool here, if I move my cursor to this point, I can see it changes, right, to sort of a curve. So with this here, I can rotate this. I can rotate it anyhow or anywhere I want it, right? Yeah. And next also, that is for scaling, that's resizing. So this resizing it, yes, I click on the handles, that's the corner handles, and then resize it. If I want to resize proportionally from the center, then resizing it, I'll hold on the Alt key, and then that one resizes proportionally from the center. But if not from the center, then you have to resize it this way. Now, one thing about resizing images in here, right? As a designer, when resizing an image, you don't have to resize it this way. No, this is not the best way to resize an image. If you do it this way, you are distorting it, right? So you always have to make sure that you are keeping the proportion, or keeping the proportion of the image or the object that you are resizing. So you resize from the corner handles, and then with the new versions, even if you resize from this side, it's going to give keep the proportion. But with the old versions, if you resize from here, it's going to distort the image from you. Right? So we have it for resizing. So you do all this with that same move tool. So let me check it, and then with the move tool, yes, we have that. So anytime there is a transformation, when I resize it, I have to commit it with the check mark, or if I rotate it, I have to commit it with the check mark. But when I move it with that one, I don't have to commit anything in here. Yeah. So that is the move tool, and this is what it does. Next is the artboard tool. So to get access to the artboard tool, you have to right click here, and then once you right click, you'll see that one here, and the shortcut is V. And the shortcut is V in here. So once I click on that, now I have the artboard tool selected. Now with this one here, they both of them have the same um like the same shortcuts, right? Both of them have the same shortcut. So how do you select both since they are all having their same shortcut? So the best way to go about it is, see, I have the move tool selected. If I want to select the artboard tool, which is this one here, using the shortcut, what I'll just do is I'll hold and shift and then V, and then now it's moved to select the artboard tool. If I want to get back move to, then I hold on shift again and then V, and then it will switch that for me. So I right click in here, go for the artboard tool. So with the artboard tool, as I can come in here and then have my artboard here, okay, artboard here. So I draw this as an artboard, and then now this is an artboard in here. So I can work on this. Once we can see the plus sign here, we can see a plus sign here, a plus here, and then another one at the top. That means you can add more artboards in here. So we can work on all these ones and then we save them. Right, so these artboards, and then those who followed the previous lesson, that's the Illustrator lessons, you will know that yes, Illustrator deals with artboards. And then with this, the previous lesson, I said that Photoshop deals with canvas. Right, so let me undo this and then I get back to my canvas. All right. Next here is the marquee tools or the selection tools. So next I have the rectangular marquee tool, I have the elliptical marquee tool, the single row marquee tool, and then the single column marquee tool. With this one here, or these tools here, they are used for making selections. So with this, I can make a selection here. And then with this selection, I can choose to give it a color, right? Can give it a color. So with this, giving it a color, I can delete from here. Now, one thing is Photoshop works with layers a lot, but this time I'm going to delete this one in here so that I still have this so that I can work with that. So with that, I go in for is the rectangular marquee, then click and drag. Okay, then I have a selection here. So with this selection, I can choose to give it a color. With the color, I have these two here. We call it the paint bucket tool. With the paint bucket, as I go for the paint bucket, I click and then the color is being added. And someone will ask that where is the color coming from? The color is coming from here. Right, these two colors that we are seeing here, we call one the foreground color and then one is the background color. So this one here is the foreground color and then this is the background color. So the paint is picking from the foreground color. If I should switch this, we use this here to switch the foreground and then the background colors. Or you can use X for xylophone on your keyboard to switch that. So with this, once I switch it and then I click in here, I have the color being applied. Another way of applying the colors, right, without using the paint bucket is they have shortcuts. So the foreground color here, this uses the Alt and then backspace, and then the background color uses Control and backspace. So if with this, if I use Alt and then backspace, it maintains the color. I can go with Control and then backspace, and then the color changes. If I want to change this color, I can double click on that and then change the color from here. So I change this and then okay. Now that becomes my foreground color, and then I can use the shortcut Alt and then backspace to apply that color. Once you are done applying the color or doing whatever you want with it, you have to make sure this selection here, you have to do away with it. Doing away with this selection, we call it deselect. So you want to deselect the selection. It has a shortcut. You can go with the shortcut that is Control and D on your keyboard, or you can go in here to select menu that's at the top here. Go to your select menu and then you deselect, right, and the selection goes away. Right. So I have that. Okay, I have that. So that one, when you go into the layers, it applied it to the background, right? To the background. If there should be an image like this image here, right? If you have this image here, then I want to delete some part of this image here, right? So deleting some part of this image here, I'll draw this here. But with this time, if I should do it, it's not going to work. So let me just do the selection and then hit on delete. Now, once I hit on delete, just could not complete your request because the smart object is not directly editable. So this is, you can't edit this directly unless you do something to it. So doing something to this one in here, that is, we have to convert this into a rasterized layer, or we have to rasterize the layer. That is, we will do that in the layers panel here, right, in the layers panel. So there is it, we can see it selected, and then that is the image that you are having in here. With the layers also, yes, that will be a whole lesson on its own, right? It has a lot to do, right? And it plays a very major role in Photoshop designing. So here I'll right click on this and then I go with rasterize layer. Once I rasterize the layer, now I have the rectangular marquee here. I can click and drag, right, and then I can delete it. So once I delete and then I deselect, now go for the selection tool. That is the background, right, which is showing red in there, right? So I have that part deleted. So it's that same way that if you go in for the elliptical marquee tool, also you can make elliptical selection in here, and then I delete that, right? I delete it. Okay, and then once I'm done, I go to select and then I deselect the selection. One thing also about these two tools are, or is, I have the rectangular marquee tool, I have the elliptical marquee tool. If I'm drawing, you see this, I'm drawing a rectangle in here. But if I want to draw a perfect square, whilst I'm drawing, so whilst I draw it, or whilst I draw, I have to hold on the shift key. Then that gives me a perfect square. So I can have a perfect square here. Or if I go in for the elliptical marquee and then I draw, if I want a perfect circle, I hold on the shift key and then I draw, and that's going to give me a perfect circle in there. And I can delete this. So this, once I'm done, I go to file menu. I'm sorry, the select menu, and then I can deselect this. Next thing is we have here a single row marquee tool and then a single column marquee tool. What these two tools do is they select single row of pixels and a single column of pixels. So if I go for there's a single row marquee tool, then I come to click here. Now you see the selection is very small. It's selecting one row of pixel. So with this, let me zoom it so that you see what I'm actually talking about. So let's zoom until it pixelates. Yes, so now we have it pixelating. So you can see this, it has one row of pixels selected, right? And then if you go in for the single column marquee tool also, this also selects one single column of pixels, right? That is it. So this also you can hit and delete to delete that. And then once I'm done, I use the shortcut Control D to deselect, or you go to select menu and then you deselect from there. All right, so let me go back. Right, so the zoom also, I'm using that is control and then the plus sign, or the control and then the minus sign, or you can go on to this tool, that is the zoom tool here, right? The zoom tool, and then you can click to zoom, or you hold on alt and then you click, right? So we just click to zoom in, right? You hold on alt and then you click, right? Right. So I have this in here. Next here, right? The next thing you have the lasso tool. So with the lasso tool, also those ones are selection tools as well. So I have this lasso tool here. So with the lasso tool, I come in with the lasso tool that is to draw a freeform selection. So with the lasso tool here, I can draw freeform selection in here, and then I can delete this as well, right? Or I can draw a freeform selection somewhere here, and then I can give it a color. I use the control backspace, and that gives it the background color. Right. Okay. Next is we have the polygonal lasso tool. So polygonal lasso tool is making that's a straight edge selection. Right. So with this polygonal lasso tool, can come in here, click, move in here to click here. I click, click, and then if I get to where I started, I'll see there's a small circle which attached to the tool. I click in here and then have it so I can delete it. Right. Okay. So with this, let me bring in a new image and then use it for this object. So let me change this to height, and then I want to change my background. Like I want to change my canvas to height. So Alt and then backspace using the foreground color. So let me search in for the image. The image. I have to get an image with some straight edges so I can have it done easily. Okay. Having this of not going to get any image. Okay, I'll just go in for this one here and then drop it. So let me resize this. So I have this image here, right? This image here. So copying this, I'll go in for the polygonal lasso tool. So the polygonal lasso tool, then I have it here. So I click here, then come here to click this part also. Come down here to click this part. Down here to click it, and then here also I click. So once I do that, it loads a selection for me. So with this, I'm not going to give a color or I'm not going to delete. What I'm going to do is I'll right click in here and I'll go for layer via copy. So once I do that, it crops only that part out. So in the layers, I see it brings me layer 1 of the copy in here. I'll just hide this in here, and then now I have that. Okay. So yes, let me delete that. So that's the polygonal lasso tool, right? With all these tools, for now, as we are going through them, but as time goes on, we will have time to talk about the tools very well. The next one here, that's the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool is also used for selection. It's a selection tool, and then with that one, it detects edges, right? It will detect edges and then use the edges to crop. So with that also, let me get in another image which has good edges. Okay, let me try this one and see if the edges are okay. So I have this here, and then I'll go in for this, the polygonal lasso tool. So I right click here and then go in for the polygonal lasso tool. So I just have to click and then keep dragging along the edge. Okay. So we just click and drag, and then it's, if the edges are very sharp, it's going to detect the edges for you. Okay. All right. Oh, okay, that side, I didn't take my time. That side, this part is going to be a little bit difficult, but let me just go with it. Okay. So if the edges are sharp, yes, you are not going to suffer. It just detects the edges for you, then you can cut. So once I go on to where I started, now it loads the selection for me. What I'm going to do is I'll just right click in here and go in for layer via copy. Then that one is also going to make a duplicate for me. So with that, if I hide this, now I have only this, right, as a PNG. It has a transparent background. If I should hide this background, you can see it's transparent. Right? You can see it's transparent. So I can just reveal this in here, and then I'll select it and then give it a color, and then we can see that. Right. Okay, so let me undo here. The next one here we have the object selection tool, right? The quick selection tool, and then the magic wand tool, right? So with these tools also, they are also part of the selection tools, right? So we have the object selection tool, the quick selection tool, and then the magic wand tool. With these tools in here, I'll first go with the object selection. So with the object selection, that is also for selection. Let me delete this one here, which I did. Right? And then what I'm going to do is I want to select the object in this image. I'll just click and then drag over it, and then it will be able to detect the objects, and then I can crop it. Oh, yeah, sometimes it takes time loading. Right. Okay, so you see it does that, but not as in how I want it. It was able to detect the edges, but the box, it didn't detect it, and in this part also it didn't. So let me do it again, drag all over it again, and then yes, now I have it. But because of this part being white, it couldn't detect this part, but it was able to detect everything, the edges, and then come up down to this side. So with this also I can always click and then go in with layer via copy, and it's going to make a copy for me. Right. Yes. But this part, because that side was white, it couldn't detect any edge there to cut. So with this, let me delete these two images, and then I can bring in another image. Let me drop this image here, and then okay, and then let's see if it can be able to detect the edges and rank up the person out. So here our object selection tool, let's click and drag, and then wait. Okay, so let me do it from here to this part. Then okay, it's still selecting it without the box. But if the image really stands out of the background, then it will be able to select that. Yeah. So with this, yes, let me go to select and then deselect the selection. The next one in there, that is a quick selection tool. The quick selection tool is also used for making selection. So if I want to select this image in here, I can select this image. Now, one thing is this here, when you're using the quick selection tool, the size can be very big or it can be small. You can always change the size from here. So once you click on this in here, you can see the size in here. So I can reduce the size from here, and then now you see the size changes in here. And then I can increase it here also, and then the size becomes very big. Aside using this in here, yes, you have the hardness in here, which I'm going to talk about, but as time goes on. So now let's stick to the size. Aside this, you can use the square bracket keys on your keyboard to resize it. Right? You can use the square bracket keys on the keyboard. So using the square bracket keys in there, let me go in for this in here. So the square bracket keys, it's that's this one here, right? This key here, and then this in here. So this, using this, when you hit on this is going to resize the two smaller. Like that's the quick selection tool. It's going to make it smaller, and this is going to make it bigger. So let me go back, delete these ones in here, and then I'll go in for the quick selection tool. So the quick selection tool, you can use the square brackets close to increase the size, and then the square bracket open to reduce the size. Now with this, I can click and then it loads my selection. So just be clicking to add up. So let me resize it, and then I click on here to add. to the selections. Right? So this is going to add up to your selections. If you want to crop, we're going to give it a color. You can go ahead and then do that. And that's with a quick selection tool. So let me go to my select menu, and then deselect this selection. The next one there, that's the magic wand tool. So the magic wand tool also samples single range of colors or similar colors. So with this, I can hit on this, and then the magic wand does this. Now magic wand, where I mostly use magic wand is when I want to crop an image with a solid background. If you say an image with a solid background is an image which has maybe only white as a background, or blue, only green, only yellow as a background, that is a solid background. So let me go on to in here. I'll try and get an image with a solid background. Let me drop this here. This is going to be a little bit difficult, but let's see in here. So I'll go with this and then delete. So with this one here, having it, I'll use that is my quick selection tool. Sorry, my magic wand tool. I click in here, yes, and it's going to load the selection for me. So once the selection is loaded, let me come in here, right click on the layer. I'll rasterize the layer so that I can delete that portion. So I hit on delete, and then that part is deleted. But because this is fine, yes, I'm not seeing it. So now you can see it. So let me undo this in here, hide the background. So having this selected, right click in here, rasterize the layer, right, and then I'll come in here with my magic wand tool, then I click here. Once I click, it loads the selection, I hit on delete, and then that part is deleted. So now this is sort of a PNG image. Right? It's sort of the PNG image. And so we have these tools right here, right? Yes. And then one thing also is using any of these tools here, you can crop easily, right? As in the sense of, let me have an image here, and that is when the image, or yes, that is when the image stands out of the background. So let me get an image that is kind of standing out of its background. Then I use that. Okay, let me go with this image. Wow. Let me resize it bigger. Okay, so I have this here. So I double click to commit it. Now I'm going in with any of these tools. So if I select this here, you can see I have select subject here. That is the object selection tool. If I go into the quick selection tool also, you can see I have select subject here. And then if I go in with the magic wand, also we can see it here, select subject. So with this here, I go with any of them. I'll go with the quick selection tool and then select subject. Now selecting the subject, I have to make sure that the object is selected in here. If I have it here, then that means the background is selected. If I have here, then this is selected. So having this, what I'll do is I'll go with select subject, and then this is going to load and then select the subject right in this image for me. So yes, this is the subject, that's the man in here. He's the subject. So what I'll do is right click, layer via copy, and then I'll hide this so that I have only the man here, right? Because that's the subject in the image. So if there's an image which the person in the image stands out of the background, then you can use this method to crop easily. So with this, I can hide the background, and then you see it's PNG, it's transparent. Right, so I can have any background. Oh, let me undo. Select the background, any background, and then I have the image here. Okay. So, right, let me go in with something else, and then we try that's for the magic wand. So here going for, okay. We've tried the magic wand already, right? Okay, so that's the object selection tool, the quick selection tool, and then the magic wand. The next one here, we have the crop, right? The perspective grid tool, the slice tool, and then the slice select tool. But with these ones in here, okay, going with the crop tool. The crop tool is to crop an image, or that is your content. So with this in here, once I select the crop tool, you can see these marks in here. So the best thing is you have this in here, right? That's the delete crop contents. That you have it checked. So once you have this checked, that means once I resize it, all this part will be deleted. All this part will be deleted. But if I don't want that, I'll just have to uncheck the delete cropped content. So having that, I'll just come in here and then I'll uncheck delete cropped content. Okay. So I have it here and then I uncheck it. So once I uncheck that and then I hit on OK, the content is not deleted. So if I go with my tool, I can see right here, there's the show the transform handles. And then with these transform handles, right, if you are not seeing them, right, these ones here to resize and stuff, if you're not seeing them, you just have to make sure you go for the move tool, and then on here you click on the check mark for this one to show. Once you have this, you are going to see the transform handles. Yeah, so that's the crop. Now with the crop here again, if I want it to, maybe I can go with for delete crop content. So once I go with in for that, if I delete or I resize anything in here, and then I hit on the check mark or I double click, then that other area is going to be deleted. So this once I move it, you see that it fits to the page. Right? It really fits to the page. The next thing there under the crop, we have the perspective crop tool, right? The perspective crop tool, and this is used for cropping perspective objects, right? We have the slice tool and then the slice select tool. So we just, right, without wasting much time, I would like to end this lesson here, and then we'll take it from the crop tool, that's from the other lesson. That will be lesson 3, right? So let us know anything in case you didn't get anything or you want something to be explained well. You can just leave that in the comment section, and then as we respond to you, and if it requires a video, we'll just make sure you record that video and then we'll dedicate it to you. Right. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and then share it to your friends. Also, many people need help with graphic design, right? And many people are eager to learn also. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share.